What if the NFL's most underrated storyline isn't a playoff contender, but a team everyone thinks they already understand? Because while the league keeps ranking Pittsburgh as boring, it's quietly setting the stage for one of the most fascinating seasons in football. Aaron Rodgers' final ride, a massive gamble on the present, and a franchise carrying expectations nobody can quite measure. The real question isn't whether the Steelers are entertaining, it's whether the rest of the NFL is seriously underestimating what's coming. How can a team featuring Aaron Rodgers in his final NFL season, a Hall of Fame caliber head coach pairing, and one of the league's most expensive defenses be ranked as only the 20th most entertaining team in football? That's the question Steelers fans are asking after Pittsburgh found itself surprisingly low in a recent NFL entertainment ranking. And the more you look at it, the more this debate becomes about something bigger than entertainment. It becomes about perception, because right now, there may be no team in the NFL whose public image differs more from its actual potential than the Pittsburgh Steelers. On the surface, the argument against Pittsburgh is easy to understand. The Steelers are not built like the modern highlight machine offenses dominating social media. They don't have a young superstar quarterback throwing for 5,000 yards. They don't run a college-style spread attack designed to generate explosive plays every other drive. And they aren't entering the season with the kind of offensive hype surrounding teams like Kansas City, Cincinnati, Detroit, or Washington. Instead, they look old. Aaron Rodgers is entering what he says will be the final season of his career. Mike McCarthy is one of the oldest head coaches in the league. The Steelers' identity has traditionally been built around physical football, defense, and efficiency rather than fireworks. From a distance, it's easy to see why some analysts might rank them outside the NFL's most exciting teams. But that's where the analysis starts becoming too simplistic. Because entertaining football isn't just about scoring points. It's about storylines. It's about stakes. It's about unpredictability. And very few teams enter the 2026 season carrying more intrigue than Pittsburgh. Think about what is actually happening here. Aaron Rodgers isn't simply playing another season. He's potentially playing the final season of one of the greatest quarterback careers in NFL history. Every game now carries a different weight. Every road trip, every primetime appearance, every rivalry matchup, every fourth quarter comeback attempt. Fans aren't just watching a quarterback anymore. They're watching the final chapter. That alone creates an emotional layer most teams cannot replicate. The NFL has always understood the power of a farewell tour. When legends approach the end, every moment becomes more significant. Every throw gets analyzed differently. Every victory feels larger. Every loss feels more costly. Rodgers' final season automatically raises the entertainment value of Pittsburgh, regardless of how explosive the offense becomes. But the Rodgers factor is only part of the story. The reunion with Mike McCarthy might actually be the most fascinating coaching quarterback dynamic in football this year. For years, football fans debated who deserved more credit for the success they enjoyed together in Green Bay. Was it Rodgers? Was it McCarthy? Was it both? Now, years later, they find themselves together again under completely different circumstances, no longer building a dynasty, no longer chasing their first championship, instead trying to maximize one final opportunity. That storyline alone will attract national attention throughout the season. Because unlike their Green Bay years, there is urgency attached to every decision. There are no long-term plans, no future developmental timeline, no rebuilding window. Everything is now. Everything is about 2026, and urgency creates drama. But here's the hidden factor many entertainment rankings fail to capture. The Steelers aren't interesting because of what they were. They're interesting because nobody truly knows what they're going to be. That's a major difference. Most contenders enter the season with relatively defined expectations. Kansas City is expected to contend. Buffalo is expected to contend. Baltimore is expected to contend. The questions are mostly about how far they can go. Pittsburgh is different. The Steelers exist in the uncertainty tier, and uncertainty often creates the most compelling football. Can Rodgers still play at a high level at age 42? Can McCarthy maximize what's left of Rodgers' career? Can Pittsburgh finally solve its post-Ben Roethlisberger quarterback problem, even if only temporarily? Can one of the league's highest-paid defenses become dominant enough to support a championship run? Can the Steelers actually challenge Baltimore and Cincinnati in the AFC North? Every one of those questions creates intrigue, and intrigue is entertainment. In fact, some of the most watched teams in NFL history weren't necessarily the best teams. They were the teams carrying the biggest questions. That's where Pittsburgh finds itself entering 2026. Now, let's talk about the criticism itself. One of the primary reasons given for Pittsburgh's ranking is that the organization supposedly hasn't taken an imaginative approach to moving beyond previous eras. That criticism deserves examination, because from one perspective, it's understandable. Signing a 42-year-old quarterback isn't exactly a revolutionary roster-building strategy. Neither is relying on veteran leadership to stabilize a franchise searching for long-term answers. But from another perspective, that's exactly what makes this situation compelling. The Steelers aren't trying to build the future right now. They're trying to maximize the present. And that's a very different organizational philosophy. The modern NFL often prioritizes youth, upside, and long-term development. Pittsburgh has effectively chosen a different path. They're betting on experience. They're betting on leadership. They're betting on football intelligence. And perhaps most importantly, they're betting that one final year of Aaron Rodgers can produce something meaningful. Whether that gamble succeeds or fails almost doesn't matter from an entertainment standpoint, because either outcome creates a fascinating story. If Rodgers succeeds, the Steelers become one of the league's biggest surprises. If he struggles, the conversation shifts toward whether the organization misjudged its championship window. Either way, people will be watching. And then there's the defense. Quietly, this may be the most overlooked aspect of Pittsburgh's entertainment value. The NFL has become so offense-focused that fans often forget how exciting dominant defensive football can be. Great defenses create momentum swings. They create turnovers. They create short fields. They create game-changing moments. And according to many observers, Pittsburgh's coaching staff is expected to deploy its highly paid defensive unit more aggressively this season. If that happens, the Steelers could become one of the most disruptive teams in football. Not necessarily the highest scoring, but one of the most difficult teams to play against. That style may not appeal to everyone, but it absolutely creates compelling football. The biggest realization here is that entertainment and excitement aren't always the same thing. Excitement often comes from explosive offense. Entertainment comes from meaningful stakes. And Pittsburgh has stakes everywhere. A legendary quarterback's final season, a reunion years in the making, a franchise trying to capitalize on a shrinking championship window. Young quarterbacks like Drew Aller and Will Howard quietly developing behind the scenes. A defense expected to carry enormous responsibility. Those aren't secondary storylines. Those are central NFL storylines, which is why ranking the Steelers 20th feels less like an evaluation of entertainment and more like an evaluation of style. Because Pittsburgh may not look like the NFL's most modern team. They may not generate weekly highlight packages like some of the league's younger contenders. But when September arrives, there is a strong chance millions of fans will tune in every week for one simple reason. Nobody knows how this story ends. And in the NFL, uncertainty is often the most entertaining thing of all.